Alright, Ferro Iron Customs. I'm Michael, and we're back out here in the shop. It's kind of been a long day for me, and I'm kind of riding the struggle bus just a little bit, and I'm still filthy from being at work all day. But we're going to try to get this carburetor put together. I've been out here doing some cleaning on it. I just wanted to mention, Gary said something in the comments about the old carburetor cleaner. Yeah, this new stuff is, I could probably drink it. It's not very good. So let's jump into it. You ever have one of those days when you're just not going to get the camera angle right? Okay. Alright, so like I said, I've never rebuilt one of these before, and it is a lot more, I'm not going to say complicated, it's just a carburetor. They all work basically on the same principle. Air flows through a system, and the airflow helps meter, depending on the size of the venturi and the jets and a whole stack of other things, it helps meter the fuel into the engine, internal combustion engine, depending on whether it's your lawnmower or your 54 Ford. So I'm just trying right now. I haven't checked this yet. I think, no. Alright, now what I'm doing is down in the bottom of this carburetor, there is a little hole right here in the bottom. I don't know if y'all can see that or not. There's a little hole in the very bottom right there, and that hole feeds your accelerator pump through that ball we talked about. And what I was doing just then was putting a little air through that hole to make sure that it was open, and it is open. Alright, so we're going to, well, not really going to be able to get the jets from this direction, but I'm going to hit every one of the metering rod wells, or not metering rods, carburetor doesn't have metering rods, but I'm going to hit every hole in the top of the carburetor, blow air through it, and I'm going to take, and there's a couple of holes in your power valve in the bottom of your carburetor. I'm hitting them to make sure the power valve can get fuel. We're checking our, that is the vacuum port for your distributor. And I think that was pretty much it. Seemed like everything was maybe that one. I'm not sure if that's a screw hole. That's a screw hole. That doesn't go anywhere. That one. So all the holes seem to be good. In the midsection of the carburetor, the top of the carburetor is a whole lot less complicated. You just have your fuel, and there is the vent. This is the bowl vent. I don't know if y'all can see that. That is the bowl vent that allows fuel to flow into the bowl, or, you know, it lets air out of the bowl when fuel's going into the bowl. And we'll hit the, there's a couple of holes on your base plate. I read about what this is. It's called a, this is called a spark. It is called a carburetor spark control valve. So what this valve is supposed to do is it allows, let's see, it flows into, it is supposed to allow the vacuum advance on the distributor to release more slowly than if you had it hooked to manifold vacuum. That's really kind of the first time I've ever personally ran into this on a carburetor that I can remember. But, you know, that is how they did this on this particular carburetor. So, alright, so what I need to do is Give me just a second. I'm going to try to figure out what goes where, and then we're coming back. Okay guys, so I found the washer for the spark control valve. There's the old spark control valve, and it had an aluminum washer on it. If I knew that washer would seal, I'd almost be tempted to use the old washer over. But we're going to use the new washer. I found one of the washers in the kit that was the same size, and that is what we're going to use. We want to snug this. I'm not going to smoke it down, just give it a good snug. Alright, so that is our spark control valve installed. Next, the power valve. Usually every power valve you've ever put in is going to have a funky shaped washer that goes with it to allow the fuel to flow into the valve. It's got that little triangle cutout. Most everyone I've ever seen that I can remember, I'm not going to say everyone, but most everyone I've ever seen, that's the way they work. And we're going to do that the same way. The power valve goes in the midsection of the carb with the valve facing down. Something to keep in mind is, oh, and I did want to mention, the other day I said something about being different size. On Vintage Speed, they have different size power valves, and they do have a power valve block off for a 94 Holley. So you can get these if you check your engine and the engine vacuum isn't. This says an 8. I believe it says an 8. I don't know that the engine's going to make 16 inches of vacuum. We'll see what it runs like when we get it put together. Alright, so that is the base, and the midsection has the components. This is your base plate gasket, so that is definitely not the one we... Actually, there's a couple in here, so we're going to set those aside. So we have two choices for base plate to body gasket. One is a little thicker than the other, and I can tell already this one will probably work, but this one here, well, actually I don't know that that one will work. That one won't work because the holes are not in the right place. So let's try this one again here. Alright, this one will work. It's just got an extra hole in it. You know, stuff like this, you just want to make sure that if there is an extra hole, it isn't bleeding over into a passage somewhere that will allow the carburetor to leak vacuum. Alright, we're going to put the base section on. We should have 3 screws. If you give me a moment, I'll come back. I'm going to wash these screws, find these screws and wash them up. Okay guys, this carburetor cleaner leaves an unbelievable lot to be desired, I am going to tell you. So you have several different size screws. The largest screw goes upwards into the body of the carburetor. The next 2 largest screws go downward from the top down. So I just loosely fitted the bottom one, and you want to make sure you're not going to damage. Of course, the base of this is cast iron, and I was going to mention to you too, I've rebuilt a few tractor carburetors in the past, and you can probably, it would not, in something like the midsection of a tractor carburetor that's cast iron, it would be bad for, I'm going to grab a different screwdriver because that one's wanting to slip. It would be bad for trying to, for rusting inside the passages. So you could actually shot peen the carburetor with in your media blasting cabinet and clean the holes out. That stripped out. Hang on, make sure I put the right screws in there. Guys, my old eyes are horrible. I cannot see anything anymore. But that is the wrong screw. Guys, why did y'all let me do that? Didn't I say the next two largest screws? They're right there. They were laying on the bench in a different place. Okay, well, no harm, no foul. Yeah, that carburetor cleaner sucks, man. I'm telling you, it sucks. Like I said, Gary had left a comment on the video, and it actually posted today, that video where I tore this down, and he mentioned about using the ultrasonic cleaner. If anybody has any experience with that, I've seen Puddin use one, and I wasn't 100% thrilled with the results. But let me know if y'all have had different results with those. All right, so we have the base attached to the midsection. The power valve is in, the electronic spark control, and I think I mentioned that the electronic spark control is supposed to let the vacuum fall off of the vacuum advance slowly so it doesn't slam back to no advance. Like I said, I'm not even 100% sure why. I mean, that's not really something that is done, you know, in modern times. So anyway, well, I mean, and I'll take that back, because with computer control, anything is possible. So, all right, guys, let's see what is next. Before I get too terribly carried away, I need to get the accelerator pump in. Like I said, we have already put the ball in. Let's see if I can tell where that comes from. Okay, it comes from the middle right there. Something you can do if you're rebuilding a carburetor is put a little, you can put a little fuel in there while you're rebuilding it. Make sure that your accelerator pump is actually working. So the accelerator pump has a spring, and it has a little weird shaped spring retainer that fits down over the spring, and this is your accelerator pump rod, and it fits together like this. The rod slides down into the carburetor right there, and I should have already put this part on. We may have to go a little backwards. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you do. Like I said, this is the first time I've ever built one of these. If it was a 2-barrel Motorcraft or 2-barrel auto like the 2110 or whatever, I would rock out on that sucker. All right, that is your link to run to the accelerator pump. All right, and honestly, I do not remember exactly how that was in there. I do remember saying that I thought we were gonna need to find some clips. Actually, I think that one's gonna stay just like that. So you can look at the accelerator linkage. You see the one that's got the wear in it right there. That's where the accelerator pump was hooked up to. So if you think about it, if you put it in that hole, it'll give you a shorter accelerator pump and stroke, and if you put it in that hole, it's going to give you a longer stroke, which means, you know, you'll get more accelerator pump through the travel. And that's just tuning. Most of the time you don't change that. It's going to go right back in this hole that's got the wear. And just another thing, I mean, that may be something we have to deal with, because if you look, the accelerator's moving without moving the accelerator pump. So right there, that can give you a lean condition, a lean stumble off of idle right there, because you don't have any accelerator pump stroke right to start with. And I'm afraid if we move it up a hole, we're going to get too much. We're going to get too much stroke. Or get it come on too fast, because once it gets to the bottom of the accelerator, it's not going to pull. If you can watch the spring, once you get to this point, you're pulling down the spring. So this is all the accelerator pump stroke you got right there. I think you'd want the most stroke possible, but if we put it in this hole, that's going to limit that stroke. We're going to run it in a new hole and just see what it does. If it acts like it's getting too much gas, we will change that now. Okay guys, just before I ran in the house, I noticed this about this linkage here. I thought there was a clip boss, but it's just the wear in the linkage. What it actually has is there is a little spring-loaded ball in the accelerator pump arm that holds it into place, which is pretty neat. You know, we're gonna see if it works. Thankfully, I know where there's a place we can, get those parts. All right, so I'm gonna clean up a few more parts and I'm coming back. Okay, guys. Before we move on, I just wanted to show you. These I think are called. I'm not 100% sure what they're called. I think it's maybe emulsion tubes. I'm just running cleaner and blowing air through all the holes. They did have a jet in them, and I'm sure that there are probably different sizes of these. Things to look at. This is what controls the fuel running into your engine while it's flowing across the venturi of the carburetor. Alright, so you've got, this is where the fuel will come out. And you can see, maybe you can see right there and right in the bottom, the air passing by these places creates a low pressure, and it pulls fuel up from these jets that run down in the wells. They actually run down in to where they run down in these wells that are behind the jets, the main jets for the carburetor. So I'm gonna get those cleaned up and put in. I've already cleaned up the jets. I'm gonna put those back in, and the needle valves. Like I said, if y'all remember, we set those, we run them in. Oh, something you want to do when you're checking your needle valve is just make sure there's no scarring on it. Make sure your needle's not bent, and like I said, you want to tighten it down. These are easy to tighten by finger. You don't want to stick them in there and jam them, because you'll damage the needle, because they're made out of brass. So we're going to go 1/2, 1 1/2. Then we're going to take this one and we're going to go 1/2, 1 1/2. That's a good starting space. When we get on the car, we may do a quick tune-up. I don't think I'm going to have the car where I can actually try to drive it. I know it's not going to happen today, and I do apologize for that, because it's already almost 8 o'clock. I didn't get home until really late this afternoon. So we're going to continue on. I'm going to get these emulsion tubes put in, or the venturi or emulsion tubes or whatever they're called, put back in, and I'll be right back. Alright guys, so I'm going to show y'all as much of this as I can. I went ahead and put the seals down in. Make sure that one's in there. Yep, it's hard for me to see in this dark. Like I said, this carburetor cleaner left a huge amount to be desired. The old-timey stuff would have got that 100% clean. So you have, like I said, your little tube goes down in the well, and then your squirter jet, and this is the part that's going to be a pain in the butt, goes right here. Try not to lose the gasket. Squirter jet goes there, and I did blow coolant through that. I mean coolant. I blew carburetor cleaner or brake cleaner through that to make sure it was working. Hey guys, I'm about to lose battery. I just wanted to say I left out the pump discharge needle. It goes right below in the squirter hole in the base of the carburetor. So I had to pull the carburetor back apart, and this goes right. It goes right in that hole. Alright, you have two different ones of these brackets here. This one goes here. It is shaped, the only one, it will only go one way. This one is too long to sit down in there like it's supposed to. I'm going to have to move this so that I can see what I'm doing. I do apologize, but y'all get the idea. Alright, there are actually two tabs on these towers that line up with this bracket, and that is one of those clips. So we're going to tighten those down. We're not going to smoke anything down. We're just going to give them some snug-a-duggas for right this second. Alright, we're going to grab this one, and we should have another screw. These are probably kind of on their own. I don't know if y'all can see that screw, but it's got one of those inside star washers, like inside lock washers that has the star on the inside, and it's going to line up in the front and hold the front of those tubes down. So like I said, you want this stuff tight. You do not want it, you don't want to turn it up to kill mode, because you will strip out this aluminum base in a flat second. I've already got a mistake here. Okay, there we go. The base of this tube had gotten caught on the side of the carburetor, and I just moved it over. You know, like I said, you just got to kind of keep an eye on what you're doing. The placement of, they have a little boss in the middle here. That should, you know, prevent you from being able to, it should make it where you can tighten the screws down tight and not warp the plate that holds everything together. Tighten that up. We'll put a little snugga. Yeah, that one needs a little more torque. Throw a little more torque on that one. Definitely more torque on that one. Alright, and that's probably the hard part about this carburetor here, that's harder than a normal carburetor. Usually you'd have 3 or 4 bolts, 2 or 3 bolts, 4 maybe, that holds your venturi in the carburetor. Like I said, this makes this carburetor a little more complicated than, say, like a 2101. You know, the Autolite 2101, the big 2-barrel that Ford used on everything. If anybody wonders, that's my favorite carburetor. So we are going to put the jets in. Like I said, they were not smoked down. You want them just tight enough that they will not come out of the carburetor. You do not need to, you don't need to throw the old Chicago pneumatic on it and, smoke it down. Guys, I know this video is probably going to be kind of long. I appreciate y'all watching if you've made it this far. I'm hoping this is informative in case you decide you're going to rebuild a carburetor of any kind. Alright, like I said, and I think I mentioned in the other video to remind me not to smoke this down where I can't take them out later. So I'm going to stop right there. Alright, let's see. We've got our little plugs. Also on Vintage Speed, you can buy adjustable jets where you put a jet in the jet location, and then in the front they have a needle valve that runs into the jet, so you can adjust the actual size of your jet like that. If you have multi carburetors and you need to do a lot of tuning, that may be an idea. There's a lot of cars out there running multiple 94 Holleys. A matter of fact, on the Volkswagen, my original setup was going to be 6 94 Holleys on that 302, but that is an extreme amount of overkill for that engine. I may work up to 3 deuces at some point. Right now that is a, what is it, 4101. It is the Shoebox Motorcraft 4-barrel is what's on there. So I'm gonna run that just to get the car broke in whenever we get the car running, and then we may do something stupid after that. I don't know. Alright, so that's that. Oh, in case the neighbors are restless again, in case y'all lost it, they did put a check ball in there, so we could have taken that out and changed it if we had so desired to. Alright, and I'm going to say, I think that is going to do it. So we have only one. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't see this. They actually have the 4-bolt base. I actually have 2 4-bolt 94 Holleys, or whatever the number is, but it was actually called a bug spray. I actually have 2 of those, and that was going to go on the motor if I had kept the guys, if I had kept the dual port, I mean the 1600 in it, or built a Volkswagen engine. So I have the dual carb set up with the bug sprays. I thought that would be cool. Always thought that would be cool. Alright. The jet is in. Alright. And now we have, here is the needle valve. The new needle seat has got the plastic or rubber seat, rubber tip. Actually, the old one was rubber, but it's hard enough that you could probably use it to chisel out most anything with. Alright. And I did not look up the specs on the float, which is why I was talking a lot of garbage about the kit, because they should have instructions in the kit to tell you what the height of your float needs to be. Michael put it down there where they can see it on the camera. So am I going to look it up, or I'm just going to leave it where it was at? want it to run lean. I don't think it will. It's just a baby engine, you know. So we're gonna give it just a little bit of a little extra float, a little extra, you know, let it close just a little extra early. This is not a performance machine, 130 horsepower machine here. Alright, and when we get ready to put the top on, am I forgetting anything, guys? Y'all let me know. Let me know in the comments. Am I forgetting something? Because we're going to put this thing on one day this week. I don't know which day it's going to be, but we're going to put it on one day this week. Weekend. That is okay. I hope that loosens up whenever it gets some fuel in it. So that's awful tight. I don't like that. It does really good until you get to the point where it comes back to idle. Let me just change it back to the middle hole real quick and see if it gets any better. This may be something we have to see if we can't find another carburetor core we can get. Oh yeah, that's better. It's not doing the crazy stuff it was doing. So that's just going to have to be something we're going to have to live with. Once I get this engine running and I know it's going to be, you know, whether it's going to be good and we're going to spend some more money in it, or whether it's not going to be good and we're not going to spend some more money in it, whenever we make that determination, then I'll make a determination what to do about this throttle shaft. I already said in the first video that we need to replace the throttle shaft and put an oversized shaft in it, and we will also need to see if we can may need to take and see if we can weld that hole up and re-drill it or something to get that slop out. Anyway, that's a bridge we'll cross when we yeah, because that's a lot of movement before that. And like I said, I was going to run it in this other hole, but it's just it's not acting right when it's in that hole. It's creating a weirdness to it. Alright, I'm going to get these bolts put in and we'll come back. Okay guys, it says I got 2 minutes of battery left, so I'm not going to bore y'all for 2 more minutes. Anyway, I made one mistake while I was putting it together. I had to put the choke cable bracket back on, and it goes in this bolt in the back of the carburetor. But it doesn't look bad. I would like to have it to have been just a little cleaner, but you know, we're going to take it. Come back tomorrow. I'll be back working on the Volkswagen. My goal is to get the right side rear fender as caught up to the left side, and Sunday, you know, we may put this on the car and see if we can't get it to sit and idle and run on its own. I would really love to see that happen. I'd love to be able to get in there and pull it in gear and see if that transmission is going to pull. I'm very excited about that car. I don't even know how to explain it. I mean, I'm excited about all of my cars, but I'm excited about that car. I want to get it running. I want to get it where it can be driven on the road, and yeah. So that's it, guys. I'll see y'all tomorrow.